Well, stress management pre-baby is very different than stress management with baby, because you don't have a lot of options at this point.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, the thing about parenthood is there's just some days that go really well and baby's giggling and you're so happy and, you know, you're so touched and everything's just so great because, you know, your kid laughing is like a bright ray of sunshine. There's like nothing better in life. Mm-hmm. And then there's just some days where like it all just falls apart and you just, and you guys, moms are superheroes, and I think you guys should all hug your mothers or your wives who are the mothers to your children, because I really don't know how single moms do this. So just for the chats to know, like, so Cohen is in a lower percentile group than the average for his weight. And it's my first kid. I don't know what's going on. All the websites online are like, you're a bad mom. They're not really.
Really?
But a lot of them are like, your milk supply is really low. Like you're not feeding your kid enough. Like make sure you feed your kid more. And like, and I'm like,
WebMD of parenthood, where it's just like everything is wrong.
It's like, obviously it's your milk supply. Obviously you're not feeding your kid frequently enough. Obviously. And I'm just like, no. I'm like, what is happening? So I'm like reading this. I already had instinctually like a gut feeling that he wasn't gaining weight on the average scale. Cause you know, you can look at the growth chart and it's like by 3 months, your kid's supposed to be like 14 pounds. I was like, well, he's definitely not 14 pounds. So what's going on here? So I scheduled him for a weigh-in, and with COVID right now, especially with like the vaccines and stuff like that, like all the doctors are really like super overbooked and stuff. And so I could only get like a weight check, and then I was doing a virtual visit with my doctor like a couple days later, like 2 days later or whatever. And so the nurse weighed my kid and then gave me the growth chart, and I'm just like sitting there looking at this number, this arbitrary number, right? And I'm just like, okay, what does this mean? And you know, I texted you, I was like freaking out about it. I was like, what do I do? I'm failing as a mother. Like my kid's not getting enough food. Like what's fucking, and you're like, Steph, is Cohen upset or is he happy after he eats? I'm like, he's really happy. He's happy all the time. He's super giggly. And you're like, okay, is he like angry when he wakes up? And I'm like, no, he's really happy. He's like, wakes up with a big smile on his face. Is he getting the right amount of diapers? Is he like peeing and pooping the right amount? I was like, yeah, like on the tee. And she's like, Haley's like, well, then he's probably okay. Like, let's just like take a deep breath. And I'm like, I literally that day had a fucking mental breakdown. I was sitting on the floor, hugging Coco, just crying my eyes out. And I'm like, I texted Brennan and I'm like, I need you to end your stream. And he's like, he like runs upstairs like, what's the matter? I'm like, I'm a terrible mom. And he's like, no, you're not. You're fine. Like, let's. And I was like, you don't know. You can't say that. You don't know he's fine. What if he's got a digestive problem? What if he's like, and you know, again, when you're a first time parent, and again, I didn't have siblings. I'm not like an older sibling. I didn't grow up with like younger kids or anything like that. Like I wasn't really around. Like I saw my niece every weekend, but it's not the same when you're going through it versus like you see your like a kid for an hour, you know? So I get to the doctor. Or no, actually I had my lactation consultant over the phone, and she was like, she like walked me through all this stuff. But there's just literally that night, Brennan goes, okay, Steph, I know I'm not as good as you at putting Co down, but I'm going to do my best. I'm going to put him down. And he went downstairs. He grabbed me a glass of wine. He's like, after your last feed, take this glass of wine, go make yourself a hot bath, and just like go in there and do some like you time. And I was like, okay. And I realized on that day that taking a bath is like stepping into miracle regenerative restorative waters. And I just felt like a new ass human after. So that's like my new thing. We're talking about stress management, right? So for me, sometimes literally just closing the bathroom doors and turning on the and it doesn't even have to be long bath. Like I shut down too when I'm really stressed out. I stop talking. Like I go really introvert to the extreme. Like I find it really hard to like converse and like be like, you know, and you have a baby, part of your job is to sit there with FaceTime and make stupid faces and talk in a happy voice and then, you know, interact with your kid. And we're not having a good day. It's really hard to do that. So I put Cohen in his lounger on the bathroom floor, and the bathroom is still kind of a new enough room for him where it's really interesting. Like he's just content, like looking around, like, where am I? What's this? What's over here? What's the bathtub doing? What does the shower look like? Why is there a sink? Like, he's still really intrigued by everything in the bathroom. So I put him on the lounger. I brought his little like piano thing that like plays its own music. It like, the girl like sings these songs on the like little piano toy or whatever. Yeah. So I turned that on and I just filled the bathtub with hot ass water, and I just like laid there with like my hydro flask full of ice cold water, and I was just like, had my eyes closed, and I was like, Coco, you're doing great. And he's just like laughing, hanging out, and I'm like, you're doing so good. You're such a good baby. Mommy really needed this. Thank you. And he just and he was just playing with his toys, and he was just having a great time. And I was just like, and it was only like, I think it was like 15 minutes total that I like did this whole thing. And then I got out and I was a brand new fucking person.
Isn't that amazing how like it's I'm glad you brought that up, because I think it really factors into how we are as parents specifically, but how for you in this case, something that literally only takes 15 minutes out of your day truly makes you become a better parent. Yes. Like, that's the importance. And there's this phrase of you can't pour from an empty cup. And if you guys are not familiar with that, you know, especially as parents, we're constantly giving. We're giving attention, we're giving love, we're giving our energy, everything we have to our children. And so, but like a cup, right? You can only pour and give and give and give so much until your cup is empty. And then it's like, well, I have nothing left to give. And so that's why it's important to refill your cup. You are constantly overworked, whether it's at your job or your family or your life, people who constantly drain from you, like it's your responsibility to take the time to step away and figure out what you need to do to refill your cup, whether it's a bath, whether it's, you know, taking a weekend away, or like having a staycation, or, you know, having your family take care of your kid for a couple days. It's important to recognize what that is, because otherwise it's just fuck, right?
Yeah. I honestly think that what you said towards the end there is the biggest thing. I think a lot of people who have really high stress levels, I think one of the hardest things for them to accept and do is to actually reach out for help. A lot of people who are super stressed out basically have a lot of spinning plates, and they don't know when to just put a couple down and ask for help. Because when you have 10,000 things going on, of course you're gonna be stressed out. If you can like put a bunch of those plates down and focus on like 2 to 3 things, or 1 or 2 things at a time, your stress will be significantly reduced, because you don't have this insurmountable mountain to conquer. You have a very short checklist that you can get done, and then you inherently have this like satisfaction and relief, you know, once you can get through your like 2 bullet points.
Like, someone asked, how do you recognize the difference between multitasking and overtasking, and what's the stress threshold? I think that, you know, whether it's especially as parents, right? Because us being work from home parents, and we have to do, especially during a pandemic when everybody's home, and you have to be a parent and a streamer and a partner and all of these things all at once. You have, like, when people ask, oh, how do you juggle so much? It's like, you have to decide which balls you're juggling are glass and which ones are plastic, and which ones you literally cannot let break, and the other ones that it's okay if they fall and you pick them back up a little bit later, right? And so that really puts it into perspective for me when I feel like I've got so much going on at once that I literally can't handle it anymore. And it's important to me to have a clean house, right? Like, we have dogs, we have cats. It's important that like my kid isn't walking around on dirty floors, right? So I'm always want to vacuum. I always want to mop. I want my floors to be nice. But if there's dishes in the sink, I really could give 2 shits. Like, however nice it would be to constantly have no dishes in the sink, that's one of the plastic balls that I can let drop for a little bit. And I think whether that's, you know, the housekeeping side of things, or the work side of things, or the relationship side of things, that's the best way to decide which ones you can continue multitasking and which ones, if you keep juggling them, are going to lead to overtasking and burnout.
And I feel like that comes with life experience, to be honest. It's really hard for any one person to sit here and tell you like 5 is your limit, 2 is your limit.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like everyone's limit's different. But like learning to recognize the signs of burnout and the signs of like overtasking, the signs of like being over stressed out and stuff like that. Because like stress is so bad for you, not just for your mental health, but like physically it raises your blood pressure. It's just like it does a lot of really shitty things to your body and your health too. And and again, it's not super easy for everyone to get there, but a great manager of stress is exercise. Like all my doctors tell me that. I have friends who are incredibly like into working out and stuff like that. And you can tell their quality of life is a little bit different than say people who don't actively have fitness routines in their life. And I'm not one to really like preach on this because I'm really bad about it, but I have gone through phases where I'm like really into yoga, I'm really into this, and I can tell the quality of life's different. It is just hard. It is just one more thing though that ends up being a plastic ball instead of a glass ball for me.
Do you feel like, how much do you feel that the pandemic has contributed to your personal stress levels?
Oh, hugely. Hugely,
really?
Because, having a kid takes a tribe, and we've been Sans tribe since, he was born.
Last
my
year.
parents came and they helped us, which was like, I can't even express my gratitude for that. It's just, I can't even put into words how helpful that was and amazing that was. But again, they were there for the very, very first stages. So Brent and I never even left our room, basically. Like, we were just in full newborn, learning how to take care of baby, learning how to change a diaper, learning how to breastfeed, learning how to take care of ourselves. Like, it's just, there's a lot to it. And so, my parents were just like, we'll cook, you guys can come downstairs, we'll bring the food to you, whatever you want to do. And they were just basically there to take care of our dogs and go grocery shopping and make us, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, which was amazing. But it's not like but it was great because we were so social with them while I was still pregnant. And then I had my kid and I like never saw my parents. So until like pretty much right before they left, which was, we were like 2 weeks in and it was a little easier, but
yeah. And I think the value of like having your tribe really makes such a huge difference.
Oh, it does.
Everybody's affected by the pandemic, right? Whether you're a parent or not, like, it sucks not being able to do your usual routine, whether that's going out or working working out at the gym that's been closed, or like you get your socialization from a job that you're no longer in the office for. Like all of those things I think affect everyone, which is why I think this topic is so relevant. But having even just your squad of people that, you say, okay, well, I know that you're safe to be around since you're not seeing anybody else. And, keeping a close-knit group of people that you can kind of like feed off of. So for you, like it was your parents, right? When they came to visit. And for us, once Karina got vaccinated, it's been Rick's parents. And that little bit is so helpful. But I keep forgetting, man, what it's like to have a tribe. And this for us, we're going up to the Pacific Northwest in 2 weeks? Mm-hmm. Oh my God, Jesus, 2 weeks. Okay. But like, I even you texting me the other day, you were like, hey, so like, where are you going to sleep when you get here? Since you're going to beat the truck. In my head, I was like, well, I'm just going to, get a blow up mattress and sleep on the floor until the movers get here. And you were like, we live like 4 minutes from you. I'm like, oh yeah. Like you guys are all up there. I have people up there now who can help and do things. And, I mentioned the IKEA thing to you and I was like, oh, okay, Steph can't go, but wait, Lexi probably can. Like, I keep forgetting I have friends that I can do things with now. And that alone, Steph, I can't tell you how much it has brightened my outlook on the stress that I've been experiencing.